Well, afternoon, everybody. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, and thanks for being with us today in another one of our In the Loop live episodes. And today we are with a good friend of ours at Positively Osceola. That is the chairman of the Osceola County Board of County Commissioners, Mr. Brandon Arrington. You're going to bring him right on. Boom. How you doing,
Hey,
sir?
Keith. How you doing today, man?
Doing great. I think it's
Good.
Wednesday. Wednesdays are kind of interesting.
It's either a great transition to the weekend or you're ready to just put the week behind you. One of the two, right?
We just can't get the work done, and I'm afraid it won't happen by Friday.
That's also true.
It's all good. It's all good. I think we're all trying to just kind of work together to get everything back in a somewhat of an orderly fashion. I know you guys have been working hard over the county and just trying to get things straight, take care of people. I know you're doing that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. It's definitely been an interesting couple of weeks, not only here in Osceola County, but throughout Central Florida, and obviously with our friends on the West Coast. It's
Yeah.
I'm 47 years old. I hate to admit that sometimes, but I don't remember any time in my lifetime where we had somewhere between 15 and 20 inches of rain in such a quick span here in our community. So it's been a challenge for everybody. There's obviously some neighborhoods that routinely get impacted by high water rising, whether it's Good Samaritan, whether it's
Right.
Sherwood Forest, folks along Shingle Creek, Mill Slough specifically was hit hard once again this year. So it's a challenge, and obviously we at the county have been working with the school district, our state and federal, and our both of our cities, really working together in a wonderful combined effort to try and move all of our fixes, if you will, from the impact of the storm forward. It's a real challenge. I mean, we still have, as of yesterday morning, I haven't gotten the stats today. I believe there were about 100 people still in our shelter here in Osceola County. About
Right.
11 of those were special needs. And I think there was roughly about 80 in the general population, which has now been combined into one shelter at, I believe it's Hickory Tree Charter School. We've been fortunate enough to work with them. Even our good friends over at the Hope Partnership have shown up and have brought their shower trailer to the facility as well, so we can make sure people have nice showers while they're trying to get back on their feet, working with FEMA to figure out if they can get back in their homes or where else they might have to go to.
Yeah, I mean, this was. I know we've said it before a bit, but and certainly from the EOC perspective, this was a strange storm. As we again didn't know where it was going to be landing, what it would look like when it got here. It it keeps hitting me. I guess as a county, when you go to unpack all this, when you look back at all the data and you try to figure out, how this went or how that went, what was this reaction? How do you assess what you would want to, if you do find anything you want to change? This is how often these things happen. They seem to be somewhat regular, but they're not. So how do you unpack all of what you're going to do in preparation for what might happen in the future? And that, like you said, we got so much rain. It was an abnormal amount of rainfall.
Yeah.
And it caused abnormal situations. So how do you unpack what needs to be changed or what doesn't need to be changed?
One of the first things that we've talked about specifically is working with South Florida Water Management in the state in regards to the lock and gate system on our lakes throughout Central Florida. We have to all realize that the locks and gates that are on Lake Toho and East Lake Toho and most of our chain of lakes here in Osceola County was constructed roughly 50 to 60 years ago by the state of Florida and the Army Corps of Engineers. They created that system to help to alleviate flooding. For instance, I believe it was Hurricane Donna that flooded downtown Kissimmee. And when I say flooded downtown Kissimmee, the old movie theater that used to be there was under about 3 to 4 feet of water. Obviously, we have never seen the likes of that again with those improvements, but we've got to find a better way to be able to move the water in a safer manner from Seminole to Orange to Osceola, on down to Okeechobee and the Everglades as well. So we're going to be reaching out to our state because the state controls our waterways. They are the folks in charge of managing our lakes. But also another big thing that was unfortunate is our hydrilla growth in our lake. That's an invasive plant species that's in Lake Toho and East Lake and even some of our retention ponds throughout Osceola County. And in the past, we had received funding from the state, once again, because it's a state lake, to manage and regulate some of that hydrilla growth. Unfortunately, the state has cut back some of that funding, And this year, the governor even vetoed funding that was specifically coming to Osceola County to help manage some of the hydrilla. And the reason I bring that up, because what you do is when you have that much invasive plant species within a body of water, it's taking up opportunity for water to be able to store and flow through that lake system, because it's a mass, and mass is obviously going to displace what could be in there. So those are two major things that we really have to figure out and work on, because I think we've all seen, not only here in the state of Florida, but throughout the United States and globally, our weather pattern has changed.
Mhm.
Whether you want to call it global warming or climate change, or however you choose to term it, it's a reality. The Gulf of Mexico is at higher temperatures than it's ever been, which creates fuel for hurricanes to come pushing into the state of Florida. And Louisiana and Alabama, as well as Mississippi. So I mean, it's something that we're all going to have to address. Specific to Good Samaritan Village, we actually have in this year's budget some movement and some projects that are actually were specifically to help with catching some of that water, creating some other basin opportunities to catch it. Unfortunately, Good Samaritan is built within a floodway. As we've heard many commissioners say, that would not be the case today. That project would not be allowed to be constructed here in Osceola County. And so our hope is that we'll be able to partner with FEMA and the owner, because it's all about who owns the property on how you move forward, and trying to maybe remove some of those housing units from our stock. I know that's probably of great concern for somebody who might rent a trailer there, who's maybe been there for a number of years, but I have a real big concern, as I think the rest of our board does, about continuing to put our senior population in harm's way in Good Samaritan. And it's not only our seniors, it's also our first responders that have to go out there in the storms before, during, and after to respond to incidences, also the flooding that started to come in. And that's actually why we did the mandatory evacuation for Good Samaritan, because people were not leaving their homes. Even as the water began to rise and come in, people were not willing to leave their homes. And unfortunately, that puts us at an incremental response, sending out our first responders trying to respond and rescue people. And then after having discussions with our fire chief and also our sheriff, Sheriff Lopez, I came to the conclusion that we had to move forward with a mandatory evacuation, not only for the safety of the residents, but once again, for the safety of our first responders. And now at Good Samaritan, they're not only dealing with still water in some of their streets, which is making it difficult for us to get folks in to assess those properties, but that water also is what they term as black water, which in other words mean there is feces or could be feces within that water, because they have a wastewater treatment facility on site that they own and manage that obviously overflowed as well from the flooding. So big concern getting those folks back in there, because we want to make sure it's a healthy, safe place for those residents to be. So there's going to be ongoing conversations about what that looks like. And I've been having conversations, or trying to lead a conversation with our board for a couple of years now, about looking at the storage capacity in stormwater ponds in newer neighborhoods. And if there is a way that we can look at creating almost bigger ponds that have more storage capability, so we can prevent these torrential downpours that happen. I mean, fortunately, we were on the left side of the storm, which had all the rain and not all the wind. I'm not sure, the after effects, which one we would prefer. But I can tell you, it's, a much smaller segment of our population was impacted with Ian than it was in Charlie. As I'm sure you remember, we were a blue tarp city with blue tarps on home after home after home. And so it's, it's fortunate we didn't get that wind, but it's unfortunate, that as much water we got. I mean, I'm sure you heard my neighborhood of Shingle Creek Reserve. On Friday afternoon, it was dry in the streets. And on Saturday morning, it was not. The water was about 3 feet from our house. And because Shingle Creek had rose so much. And so there again, it's imperative that fortunately, we're able to work with our South Florida Water Management District on trying to regulate some of the water flows from Orange County into Osceola County, because most water flows south, except for the St. John's, which is going north. Now we're seeing Seminole County deal with the reverse, right? I mean, we've gotten Seminole and Orange County water coming down, and now we've got Osceola and Orange water going up. And so it's a real struggle, but but it's something we're going to have to continue to look at and deal with here in Osceola County, and not only us, but the entire state of Florida. That's the big issue. So those are some of the things we're looking at immediately trying to be able to be a little bit more resilient, if you will. But the biggest thing, I had a conversation with somebody about the county, telling people to evacuate or be prepared. We really took a measured approach to our messaging, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't scare anybody into action, but we wanted to make sure people took action based on the information we were trying to give them so they could be safe. We know property is going to be damaged during storms, but the biggest thing is trying to make sure our community is safe and healthy as we move forward.
I think the lay people such as myself, I think we were surprised. The community was kind of surprised how hyper connected the waterways truly are. Like you said, coming from Seminole down to Osceola, I think that caught people off guard. You hate some knowledge you don't want in your life, I guess. But I think that was something I think people were. I think we're kind of aware of it, but you see it literally take place with whatever happened to Seminole, to Orange, to Osceola. They were hyper connected, and we lived it, and certainly some still are.
No, and to your point, Keith. It's not like those bodies of water and our canals or our creeks are even moving at a normal high rate of speed. So you don't,
right.
There's no real scare there or worry. Shingle Creek and Boggy Creek on a regular day, you and I could probably walk across it in most locations. And so, but you're exactly right. What happens north of us obviously is impactful. One of the issues we had on the east side of town is one of the gates that they had in the canal. South Florida thought they had 2 gates open, but somebody from the area had come and vandalized them. I'm sure you've heard of this. Yeah. And up to 6 of those blockages were removed. And so the water was flowing at a much greater rate than anyone had an idea of, because someone decided to take it upon themselves to, I'm assuming, get water out of their neighborhood by pushing it all onto someone else. I'm assuming that's what happened.
Sure.
So I wasn't there, obviously.
Yeah, I think that was a mass assumption, as we all pretty much have said that one.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I could see how this works.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I tell you, it's we were able to go out and get quite a bit of aerial footage all over the county, and it was unbelievable just to see some of the areas that you've lived here your whole life. I've been here for decades, and as an example, to go to Lake. To go to Chisholm Park, Ralph Chisholm Park, and to see that water as high as it was throughout that entire park was pretty unsettling to some degree. And I get it's all receded to some degree now, but it's really been something to watch, no question.
Well, it definitely has. And I mean, we saw mass flooding, areas of flooding throughout the city of Kissimmee as well, whether it was on Martin Luther King Boulevard and even on 192 or 1792 there as well. I mean, and I don't know if I've ever seen those city ditches overflow.
Right.
There again. And usually if you drive by that area now, I mean, it's at least 8 to 10 feet below the roadway.
Sure.
Of where the water level is. So yes, it was definitely an eye-opening experience for all of us, I think, to understand how interconnected we are for water, transportation, and everything else in Central Florida.
No question. I spoke to Chris Burns this morning. He is the one of the resource specialists for the fine and performing arts for the school district. And he told me this morning that the pit area of the School for the Arts was indeed underwater. So
oh, wow.
It's a lot of water, and that stage has got pretty wet. So we'll see what comes of that. But certainly widespread across the county. In your district, definitely with Shingle Creek, certainly experienced quite a bit of it for darn sure.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for those folks that are impacted, I keep referring everyone to obviously the FEMA operations opportunities and grant opportunities. There's the Disaster Recovery Center at the Hart Memorial Library as well. And so if you or someone you know is in need of assistance from FEMA, whether that's rehousing assistance, or they also have 2 different programs, I believe $37,500 for material possessions within inside your home. And if you don't have insurance, I believe there's also $37,500 available to make repairs to your domicile as well. So please, there you go, right, Hart Memorial Library, right there in downtown by the lakefront. And if you don't have a car and can't drive, you can also call FEMA at their assistance number, or you can also go onto their website as well and do all of the application process online. It's very easy to do. I've been told, I haven't done it myself, but I've been informed that it's quite simple. And they would tell you, even if you're coming to meet with somebody in person, if you can do that application process in advance online, I've been told that kind of helps move things a little bit quicker. So, well, like I said, when you have major disasters like this, we really do fall back on the federal government and their help and their assistance to move things forward. Also, Keith, I just want to make sure people know about our debris removal opportunities. I think you may have a slide for that as well. Obviously, the city of Kissimmee and the city of St. Cloud have been doing debris removal in their areas, and Osceola County is going to beginning to pick up their flood debris pickup as well. We didn't see a lot of tree damage, but there's going to be a lot of furniture, carpeting. If you take a ride through Mill Run over by Mill Slough, you'll see exactly what I'm speaking about. But if you'll go on to our site at osceola.org, it'll give you detailed information if you can't read this small print on the screen right now.
Sure.
Keith and I had a whole joke about small print earlier, telling us how hard it is for us to read sometimes. So you can go to osceola.org under our hurricane portal, and this information should be available to you as well, so you can take a look at it there.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that my increasing of the size of that graphic would not get it done if you could.
I'm afraid that's correct. I am.
No doubt.
And also want to make sure people know that State Rep Arrington and some other folks had worked hard to replenish SNAP benefits. There were a lot of people who had gotten their SNAP checks beforehand, had gotten food, and whether they lost power or were flooded, they lost that opportunity for that food. So the state of Florida is working to replenish those funds. I think we're a little bit further down the line than Orange and Seminole County. I forget the specific date, but be on the lookout for those as well, because we want to make sure people still have food during these challenging times as well. So, there's still a lot to be done. There's still some roadways that are impacted and impassable, and then some other roadways that we'll be assessing. So will the city of Kissimmee and city of St. Cloud, applying for our own FEMA assistance here for our local government, and all the issues that we're going to have moving forward. I can tell you what, my neighborhood, we had at least, I think, 6 new potholes, once the street dried up. Fortunately, the city of Kissimmee got right out there and got on top of them. But you can see how the road has settled a little bit more in some areas than other. And that's to be expected when you have water sitting on it for a couple days straight. So
yeah, that much water. We had a lot of folks ask us about applying. What you actually said, great information. We had some people ask us about the applying online for FEMA. So we took a look at it as a staff, and it's very clear. It tells you what documents you're going to need, gives you an idea how long it's going to take. We stepped through as much as we could, and it is very easy. I'm sure for some folks, they're going to have problems getting internet. Certainly, possibly they can get around to somewhere where they offer that, some public setting. But yeah, really easy scenario. Just a few documents, and you're in. And so I think it's set up very well to help those folks who are going through an anxious time that don't want to sit there for 30 minutes.
That's good you guys did that. And to your point, if you don't have internet, feel free to visit our libraries that are closest to your home. If you can't make it to the Hart Memorial, please visit any of our libraries. We have computer stations set up and staff that would be more than willing to work with you to walk you through that process if you're not so computer or tech savvy as well. So good information, Keith. But want to make sure people apply if they have been impacted. It's important. The program is there to help those impacted. Obviously, if you weren't, please don't apply. But if you were, reach out to FEMA and see how they might be of assistance to you moving forward, because a lot of us have been impacted in different ways. That's for sure.
I watched a woman on, I forget which TV station it was, but they were talking specifically about the FEMA disaster centers, and she specifically said, it was worrying me. I didn't apply. I came down and they helped me get through it. It was easy. She had some simple questions to ask, but without that person to ask, she wasn't going to apply. Yeah. And you'd hate to see somebody not to apply for that,
Oh yeah, because listen, it's federal dollars that we've all paid into, and why not bring them back to your community if you've been impacted? That's for sure. And as you said before, it's a good, easy process, and there's I think sometimes people worry about intimidation and just the confluence of trying to apply, but obviously that's not the case.
Right. Agreed. Cool. What else you need to cover here today? Some great information today.
One last thing I want to make sure folks are aware of is our state of the county. We have had to move that date, like many events throughout Osceola County that have had to be postponed due to the hurricane. So we have postponed that to December 7th of 2022, once again in Osceola Heritage Park. And Keith, I'm excited to say that you all will be live streaming this event, right? So even if you don't buy a ticket, you're more than welcome to get all the information online through Positively Osceola, correct?
That is correct. We will do that for you for sure. I highly recommend, if you do want a ticket though, to get that rather early. I do remember a year when I procrastinated and was unable to sit down for that event.
It's definitely a great event, and I thank you for encouraging people to come out live. I believe the proceeds raised usually go back to a local charity as well, after they've covered the cost of the event itself. But really excited though, we're going to be live streaming that this year. So individuals at home who may not have the chance to get out and watch it, or want to watch it at a later date, because I'm sure you guys will have that available in your bank, if you will, to be able to check out. There's a lot of good information. There'll be hopefully a couple new highlights as well, and some things that are happening in Osceola County, because as we all know, it's never a dull moment in our community.
Yeah, you're not shy of activity around here.
No, we keep it pretty busy, sometimes more than we like. But
yes, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, I appreciate you being here with us today, Commissioner and Chairman, for sure.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate you always offering me the opportunity to get out and provide information to our community.
Absolutely. And as I said, I was glad you guys, I know, like you said, there was an EOC meeting. You had to have somebody help you to get out of the house because you experienced the flooding as well. And as you explained right now, so it's been a challenge for the community, but I think I was very, very impressed the synergy between the county leading in the city of Kissimmee and St. Cloud, everybody there together at those meetings. I thought it was just a rich, it was steeped in information for the community. So I thought you guys all did a great job getting the message out to us.
I appreciate that, Keith. And it's great when we as a community can all work together to the greater good of our citizens. And I think we were able to accomplish that as governmental entities. So.
Absolutely. Well done. Well, again, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. I'll let you get out of here. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with the chairman of the Osceola County Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Brandon Arrington for District 3, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Keith.